Reading your book, The God Delusion, you say that it's under scholarly dispute among historians that Jesus actually existed. Now, I checked with the ancient historians. That is not so. And it disturbed me. History is not natural science. But what I don't understand is this, why you would write something like that.
I don't think it's a very important question whether Jesus existed. There are some historians, most historians think he did, some
They
historians
certainly
don't.
do. I couldn't find an ancient historian that didn't.
When you look at history, and let's leave aside, maybe I alluded to the possibility that some historians think Jesus never existed. I take that back. Jesus existed.
While it might come as something of a surprise to some, for reasons we'll get into momentarily, historians, from atheist to agnostic to Jewish to Christian, pretty much all universally agree that the Jesus described in the New Testament did in fact exist, and even that it's extremely likely that at minimum a couple of key significant elements of his life as described in the New Testament also very likely did happen.
I mean, there is a lot of evidence. I mean, there is so much evidence that it is not, I mean, I know in the crowds you all run around with, it's commonly thought that Jesus did not exist. Let me tell you, once you get outside of your conclave, there's nobody who, I mean, this is not even an issue for scholars of antiquity. It is not an issue for scholars of, there is no scholar in any college or university in the Western world who teaches classics, ancient history, New Testament, early Christianity, any related field who doubts that Jesus existed.
While some doubt that he ever lived, no critical historian alive today doubts that Jesus of Nazareth was a real man who lived and died in the time attributed to him in the Gospels. The Jewish historian Flavius Josephus mentions Jesus twice in the histories. Jesus is also mentioned by the Roman historian Tacitus approximately 86 years after his crucifixion, and affirms that he was in fact crucified by Roman authorities and that a sizable contingent of his believers were present in Rome at the time of this writing, which further strengthens the biblical account of St. Paul.
Jesus is the most written about character in history. He is the most painted character, the most sung about character.
But my kids, you know, they're living in the world, and there's a lot of religion in the world, so you do have to teach your kids, if you're not raising them religiously, you do have to teach them about religion, you know? I always tell my kids the same thing. I tell them that there are many religions in the world, and they're all equal, but the Christians are the main one. That's what I tell them. The Christians won, they're the winners, so act accordingly. If you don't believe me, let me ask you a question. What year is it? It's 2017. What is that? That's a number. It's not just any number. It must be a very important number, because we're counting to it in unison as a species. For thousands of years, we've been going 1, 2, 3, come on everybody, 4, and now come on Africa, 5, 6. What is this number? We're counting the days since what? Since there was ever people, or since the sun did a something? Not at all. It's been 2017 years since what? Anybody, yell it out. Yes, Christ! Christ! That's right. It's been 2017 years since Christ Jesus.
The reason for thinking Jesus existed is because he is abundantly attested in early sources. That's why. And I give the details in my book. Early and independent sources indicate that certainly that Jesus existed. One author that we know about knew Jesus' brother and knew Jesus' closest disciple, Peter. He's an eyewitness to both Jesus' closest disciple and his brother. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but you know, again, I respect your disbelief, but you know, if you want to go where the evidence goes, I think that atheists have done themselves a disservice by jumping on the bandwagon of mythicism, because, frankly, it makes you look foolish to the outside world.